Welcome, today we're going to rank all the Geometry Dash main levels. Starting off with Starry Madness is a pretty solid A tier, I'd say. The first stripe is just a single spike, then it's like a double spike, another double spike, then that staircase which teaches you how to hold. I like the way the level slowly introduces the game to you, since it is the very first level of the game, so pretty nice and easy. It starts off, and then like the second half turns up the difficulty a lot after the chip part. Like that first part after the chip part is still okay, but after that it's just you're really going to take a lot of attempts on this part, and it's also the first real sight reading challenge, unless you do it on practice mode, which who does that on Stereo Madness? And I kind of like the concept of that level for that. In the first half it shows you everything, and then it challenges the skills you've built up by now. So that's an A tier. I also like the way it introduces ship part and stuff, so pretty good. And also that one spike is sneaky. Back on Track is pretty much the same. It's the second level of the game, so it doesn't have to completely baby you in the beginning anymore. But still, the first few seconds you don't have to click. It introduces the pad in a very slow and passive way to you by just letting you run onto it, so it's also pretty easy. Another thing that I really like, it shows you how a mechanic can be implemented against you and used to kill you in that one part. So I think it's also an A tier just because of the fakes, otherwise it would have been B. Polargeist is where it starts getting a little worse. This level introduces the orb, and the orb is a really important mechanic, so it's gotta get points for that, because, well, I can't imagine GD without the orb. But still, the level it could have been so much better. It doesn't use fakes in any real way except for one orb, I think. And that ship part is just bad, straight up. And it doesn't even... The thing that pains me is it isn't even the ship part's fault, but it's the coin's one. The ship part in itself is fun, but the coin literally shows you how to cheese the entire ship part by just sticking to the roof and letting go a few times. And therefore the ship part just becomes boring as hell. But if there were spikes on the top and bottom, it would have been way more interesting. Also, the third coin is stupid, but whatever. The level is pretty okay, I guess. But only B tier. Here, Tryout. Tryout is one of my favorite levels, just because from the song, it's the only song that got kind of a dark beat, and the level kind of matches that energy of the level, and the song being a little more dark, a little more, I just tapped out. Of the song just being a little more dark, a little more sad, and the level with that deep blue part, for example, where the song starts to get like this, also matches that energy. But then after the drop, at the drop where the song goes hard, the level also goes hard, if you know what I mean. So, like, the level introduces the upside down mechanic to you, and I think it does it in a very good way, by just leaving you for a few seconds with the upside down, just how it is basically, which is a freedom that's definitely taken away in harder levels. And it's also it still challenges your sight reading without making it too hard, but also without making it too easy. You kind of need to sight read, especially that last few jumps. The rest of the level is pretty chill, I'd say, but it's still kind of fun, and it's kind of the first time the level really starts to challenge your nerves. Just like you've passed the hard upside down part, now will you be able to beat the rest of the level? So I really like that level for that S tier. Base after base. What the hell is that? Like, about that level, it's not bad or something, it's just not unique at all. It does have the black part, but it's just being overshadowed by Can't Let Go, which does it 10 times better, and the level is just, it has nothing unique to it. It doesn't introduce anything new. It hasn't really got a difficulty spike from Tryout. Therefore, I think I'll give it... should I give it a... Nah, let's not be like that. A C is probably fit a little more better, because the level isn't bad by any means. It's just... Can't Let Go, we're looking at another S tier. The level doesn't introduce anything new, but it's just like an easier demon level, which kind of looks at everything you've learned by now and combines it all together into one gauntlet of challenges. For example, while it doesn't introduce any new core mechanics or something, it still does introduce some things. For example, that one Can't Let Go jump, which only appears in that level, so it's really got some uniqueness to it. That level also experiments a little more with fakes, which is something that all of those levels really haven't, which I like about this level. Then also that last part, it just takes everything you've learned by now of the game and just throws it all together and just, here you go, have fun, which is something that I really like, because it's more like, it isn't really an introducing level, it's more like a demon, just that it isn't a demon, it's like a halfway demon. So, easy S tier for that level. Jumper is... I don't get what people like about Jumper. It's just like, the level is just like base after base, it's forgettable. And the song doesn't fit the energy of the whole game at all. It kind of fits the energy of the level, but I don't really think that it fits into the game with that funny turning beat. So that's of course not the level's fault, because the level is okay, and it's also got some nice structuring, but the level is still pretty forgettable. Just like base after base, it hasn't really gotten anything new to it, except for maybe the upside down ship, but that's kind of not really how do I put this properly? It's not really something significant, so I think it also goes in C tier just because of it being forgettable. Time Machine is a horrendous level. Really just, I hate it. I hate this level with a passion. Easy F tier, because just the level is harder than anything you've had by now. But it isn't hard in a natural way. It's just like if you were to make a new top 1 and just spam it full with frame perfects. So for example, if you were to just take the world's hardest jump and copy paste it 1000 times, it would be top 1 difficulty, but it wouldn't really be something fun. So, and that's kind of how Time Machine is, because it's just full with triple spikes. They don't flow in any way, they're really unnatural, it's just really unnatural timings. The level's got a lot of blind jumps and stuff. And it also introduces the mirror portal, which is useless as hell. Then the next thing about it is, the song is awful, and when beating it the first time it really can piss you off because of just how annoying the song is in combination to that annoying level, so it's an F tier. Cycles is a lot better, though I think it's an A tier for me, but like an upper A tier. Just because I like the song, it's like the same I like about Tryout with the song, that the song is like a little more dark and a little more sad. Some people say that the song gives them depression, which, yeah, sure, but it kind of does that in another way than, for example, Jumper does with the happy beat. So it's just like that sad beat. Also the level is mostly in blue with that slow paced yet still hard gameplay. I really like Cycles. I don't really know why, I just like it for its flow or something. The level also has got a lot of triple spikes, just like Time Machine, but like all those triple spikes in Time Machine feel really unnatural, and it is kind of different in Cycles. In Cycles, all of them flow really well to the music, so I can't really criticize them triple spikes here. They're just the harder timing. Also, Cycles introduces the ball game mode, and it does that in a way that I really like. All of the coins are at least good, so A tier. XStep is also A tier, I think, but like lower A tier. XStep song isn't like a dark and sad song like Cycles, it's more like an energetic beat. And the level really matches that energy. It's full of stars, those kind of ship obstacle things, other stars. So the level really matches the song's energy. Then, for example, at that one time, 68 to 71% is mean, but it's just like a challenge to what you've already learned and what you can do. Basically, that one sight reading part, which the blue and yellow pads. This level introduces the blue pads, by the way, which is also a very important mechanic. It's the pad that changes your gravity, just like the portals from Dryad do. And it also introduces the blue orb, which is the same, just not as a pad, but as an orb. I think it's a pretty solid A tier. Clutterfunk is, I think, B tier. I like the level song, even though it sounds a little dirty in the drop, and like, I still like it. I kind of like the dirty sounds of the drop. Some people don't like that drop for some reason, and in general the song, because some people think the song's taunting them when, like, in the start of the level, because just of how playful yet still dark and deep it is, which I think is a fun thing to that song. The level introduces the mini portal, actually A tier for that. This level introduces the mini portal, but it does that in a way that the gameplay is just as shrunken down as the player and its jumps are. So I really like Clutterfunk for that. A tier. Theory of Everything is... I do not get why people like this level so much. I mean, of course it's kind of creative that it shoots you up to the stars and kind of to the sky, that kind of vibe, but the UFO is just objectively and also subjectively the worst game mode. I don't like it for that reason alone, and it's not bad by any means, it's just nothing really that would like make me, oh my god, this level is so good or something, so it's just like B tier, I guess. The song also isn't anything special, I think. Electroman Adventures is a nice level. I think it's an A tier. Just because, I mean, the song is, in my opinion, I do not like the song. I do not get why so many people like that song. It really annoys me, but the level flows really well to that song. And also, just the mechanics the level implements, I think, are nice. For example, like mostly that one mechanic of the breakable blocks, which my only real complaint with this level is how much potential was wasted with those breakable blocks, because the game, like, you can make really good gameplay with those breakable blocks, but I hardly ever see it, and I don't really get why, because For example, if you look at the Electroman Adventures Full by, I don't know who made the level, but I'll make sure to show it on the screen for y'all. Like, it's just so much wasted potential with that, because all where it appears in the whole level is one wall which you're forced to ram into, and then it just breaks. So I don't really understand where it was implemented in the first place. That wouldn't be that much of a problem. It's just that the level would have shown creators how to use that mechanic creatively, but it didn't do that, and therefore I hardly ever see any gameplay with breakable blocks, especially not any good gameplay. Therefore, I think I can't even put it in A tier. I think it will go B. Clubstep is kind of a level I have mixed feelings about, because on one side the level is pretty influential and has inspired many levels, but on the other side, first off, all of the levels inspired by Clubstep are, like, at least most of them are really bad, which cranks it down for me, because that's what I'd call a bad influence. Then another thing about Clubstep, I do not think the gameplay of this level is fun. It is just purely skill-based ship and gameplay, which I wouldn't really have a problem with. The only problem that I have with that is just the overall advantage PC players have on this level over mobile players, just because on mobile this will take a few thousand attempts, while on PC it can take 200. And that's if you play out 144 Hz on PC. And I just don't think that the gameplay on Clubstep is any fun. The UFO parts seem very artificial from difficulty wise. Also, I hate UFO, but anyway, like, this title UFO just seems like, oh, this level isn't hard enough for a demon rating, let's just make it insanely tight so that the player has to learn a click pattern. I'm not a big fan of the idea of the player having to learn a click pattern, especially in like easier demons like Clubstep. Also, those invisible blocks aren't really implemented in a nice way, like that it would make the gameplay any better or something. You'll have to play this level in practice mode if you want any shot at beating it, which again, for an easy demon, I don't think is necessary, just because the level is kind of a memory level, which doesn't say it's a memory level, so it's just memory without, it's just like entering into stereo madness and you're hit with limbo. So D tier, I think. It's not bad by any means, it's just also not good. Electrodynamics, on the other side, is a really good level. It's got a really energetic song and the level matches that energy perfectly. It's a level that introduces the speed portal, which is a mechanic that GD wouldn't be the same without it, just because of how better you can make a level flow to the music. For example, with beat drops, or just generally the speed of the music and kind of the energy the music provides. And Electrodynamics, that's a real good example for all of that. The UFO part is the only UFO gameplay that's good that I've probably ever seen. And the rest of the level is also very good. For example, that one ship, although ship parts are pretty good, the last ship part is really hard, but not in a way that it gives a huge advantage to PC players. So the level is also fairly possible on mobile, which Clubstep isn't. It's an S tier for me. It has a block maze, which could be said is memory, but you can actually see the right path. It just kind of keeps you on your toes. Also, the speed portals just start setting in after the beat drop sets in at like 12% or something, so I think it's really good. Hexagon Force, we're straight up looking at another S tier. I know this place and Raidman is controversial right now, just because of how many people do not like the mechanic that Hexagon Force provides of the dual portal, but I think it's the best mechanic there is in all of Geometry Dash. I really like that tactical and strategical gameplay you have to do with the asymmetrical duel and kind of just how you have to practice it out. You can sight read it, but it's just like you really gotta use your brain to beat that level, and basically every asymmetrical duel, it's kind of just a click pattern, but in a more accessible for the player and more friendly way, which doesn't seem artificial and just kind of makes the player need to figure out a click pattern instead of, for example, Clubstep, where he just needs to find the click pattern with pure skill. So S tier, blast processing, introduces the wave, which is by most players said to be the best game mode, which I kind of agree with. But other than that, the blast processing doesn't really have any energetic flows or something. The level is just kind of, I think it's pretty blank and boring. The structuring isn't really unique for a 1.9 level, and it's just kind of a level that I don't really have any feelings for, so B tier. Theory of Everything 2 is my favorite level in the whole game, just because of the flows it has with that mystic atmosphere. It's also kind of a dark atmosphere, just like in Cycles or Dryad, but it's like a more mystic dark, and the flow it provides, then also that memory on the ball it has, but it isn't really memory because you can catch a glimpse of the blocks lighting up, so it kind of just keeps you on your toes, which is okay for an easy demon, I think. What isn't okay for an easy demon, I think, is just making straight up memory. Then also the song on let's say also in the calm parts with the calm gameplay, the level kind of hits hard. I don't really get what problem people have with the 80% ship. I've never had any big problems with it, but I just really like the way the level flows. For example, also the wave part, or that's another time I've seen good UFO gameplay, because the thing about the UFO gameplay in this level is if you just spam, you're not gonna get through. You really need to do every click consciously and just think about every click you do. It's kind of a click pattern, but kind of one that you can also get in your first try. And I just really like the level. Geometrical Dominator I do not like, just because of that one black part, because it's just kind of full of blind jumps and just the same memory problem I have just like Clubstep, and I think it goes right about there in D tier. Deadlocked is another really good level. It's a level that kind of urges you to make click patterns, but it doesn't do so in an artificial way. It's just basically the main mechanic of Deadlocked. Then also Deadlocked it's just like the hardest demon in the game, and it has some gimmicks in the level, just like for example that ball part, which I like because it's just like making you play the level, but also using your mind when playing the level and keeping you on your toes. So I think Deadlocked is a very good level. Also, it introduces the boss fight mechanic, which a lot of people don't like, but I kind of like the boss fight mechanic. The only thing I don't like is bad boss fights, and Deadlocked isn't at all a bad boss fight. It's kind of introduces the player to the boss fight, but it's still pretty easy for the player to understand what they have to do. Then also I kind of like making those multiple teleportation portals to throw you off. So I think it's probably a medium demon, and for a medium demon, click patterns and stuff are way more okay than for an easy demon. Now Fingerdash is a pretty plain level. It introduces the spider, which is really just a pretty boring game mode. And also Fingerdash just doesn't really have a charm to it, I think. I don't like that the level's just full of those pink grass things. And the level isn't bad by any means, it's just same problem I have, for example, with base after base or jumper, and therefore it goes into their tier. It's just got nothing unique to it. Dash, on the other hand, is in the same color scheme as Fingerdash, but it does so in a way better way. But it does so way better, sorry. It does so way better, so it's just like the level is kind of hard, I think. I do not understand why people debate about it. Maybe maybe it should be harder rated. I think insane rating is pretty good for Dash, and it is an A tier for me. The level flows really well. I like the idea of having to hit those blocks, which a lot of people don't like. I also don't really got a problem with the dash spider, unlike some people. So I think the dash spider is all fair and sight readable. I almost never died to it. I think I've died to it once, but like that was at 3 AM. I kind of do like the swing copter game mode, even though I'm really bad at it, but Dash is an A tier. And now for the platformer levels, I think the tower is like a C tier, because just of the reasons all those other levels are in C tier. The sewers is a really good level, and also it uses fire in the hole and therefore made a whole meme, so it can't be anything other than S tier. But seriously, the reason I'm putting it in S tier is just because of the boss fight, which isn't really a boss fight, it's just an auto-scroller, which you get better every attempt you do. It isn't really unfair or something. It just, basically you get better every attempt you do it, and it's kind of just a scroller in platformer mode. So it's basically GD, but more in a platformer way. I think it's kind of like Stereo Madness at one part. Can anyone relate, or am I just weird to that? The seller is a B tier, I think. It hasn't really got anything interesting to it, but I like the idea of platformer robot, and the secret hollow has really good potential. Everything until the boss fight is really good, but then the boss fight is just doesn't really feel fun, and it's just basically it makes none of the deaths feel like they're the player's fault just because of how randomly the bullets are shot. If all the bullets were shot towards the player, it would be way more fun to play, I think, and also if some bugs were patched from the boss fight. Also, I think it should jump on you a little slower, just because average humans like reaction time won't be quick enough, so the levels like it would have been an S tier from everything to the boss fight, but with the boss fight it's like an A tier. It's still good though. And now if I sort the levels, it's probably like this. like this. Yeah, that's my finished tier list. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and also comment down your thoughts and opinions on this list I've made right here. Be sure to let me know on which points you disagree or agree or whatever. That's kind of it for today's video. See ya, bye!